Yeah, sure. Well, welcome to Stampy Ranga. This very important interview with all of us. We all grew up in Currajong area, down in Western Sydney there, and we've been good friends for a very long time. And we all grew up in different backgrounds, and we've had interesting lifestyles as everyone does. And so I just want to welcome you, Duane James, to our
Welcome.
podcast here, and welcome aboard.
Hey lads, how are you?
Good man. How are you? Long time.
Long time.
Yeah. What's been happening?
Not much, mate. I'm back in Currajong, our old stomping grounds. Well, I don't live there. I'm working there now. So
Yeah, nice. Yep.
yeah. I know. Like the three of us, we knew each other predominantly through athletics. I remember you guys in those Currajong Bilpin onesies. They were the.
I knew this would come up. I knew this would come up.
It's too early in the conversation for this to come up.
But I remember those days. You know, like I remember those days fondly. So even now, 30 plus years later, I remember you guys back then. You know, you were running around with my sister Lacey.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, they were good days. You guys were very successful back then too. So, but yeah, like my first job was at Currajong Bilpin at Currajong Pizza up there, and
Numero uno.
Yeah, Numero
Yeah.
uno, still
Yep.
there. Same family's got it. I think Rachel's running it now. Rachel, and her husband. And anyway, so I got a job tattooing right next door. So
yeah, sweet.
We moved back a bit over a year ago.
Yep.
And I put on 10 kilos because we're right next to the pizza shop all over again. So
Is Goody Gumdrop still there?
yeah, that's the other one to blame. They do the best. They do burgers the size of your head. So sometimes I forget my salad.
I don't think it really matters if you've got a nice big pizza shop next to your tattoo joint. I mean, it's almost the perfect scenario. Yeah. Like your clients, okay, let's have a break for 2 hours at the pizza shop.
Yeah. It's just terrible. Like, and even there'll be day like, oh, I feel like a steak sandwich. Do you want one, Dwayne? I'm like, no. Twist my arm.
Rubber arm.
I'll have two.
Yeah. No, it's good. I love being back in Currajong. I didn't realise how much I missed it until I came back. So
yeah. How do you feel how do you feel about the set of traffic lights in Currajong now?
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
I'm not too much. It's the most technology. I think it's the most advancement the village has had in about 4 decades. So
yeah. I knew when it went in there was uprising. There was protests in the street. There was
that's Currajong, man. Like there's a few people there that don't like a great deal of change, or that they want to. I don't know. I remember, like, I don't know if you guys remember, out the front of Mum's house there was that great big tree, and it was.
I do remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember Dad wanted to cut that thing down in the 90s. He was worried the branch was going to go down. Like we got the old fibro shitbox house, you know, and he was worried that the branch had cut. So I wrote council a letter a few years ago, and there was a bit of a stick about that because we wanted to get rid of the thing because it had dropped a couple of branches that were 3 foot across. And I thought, if that thing drops and kills Mum, we had letters basically saying that the council said that we couldn't cut it down, and they wouldn't cut it down either. It had to be left alone. And I said, well, okay, well, that's fine, but liability lays in your hands. So someone gets hurt or causes some property damage, like if Hawkesbury Council wants to pay for it, that's on them. So so I wrote that email, and about a week and a half later, the tree was gone.
Yeah. My mum had a similar incident. So
it only took like 30 years for us to get rid of the tree, but one scathing email. So
that's right.
They did win in the end. They were helped out. A mob turned up. We sat there watching them cut down this tree.
Yeah, the old liability game.
Yeah.
No one's. Yeah. So, but
I'm on the edge with a lot of those little topics there, because like sometimes like having a tree in your yard is definitely like somewhere to grow together and actually like get all the kids around and have fun. But like if something does happen, which usually does, let's be honest, like it can be some sort of liability there, but really it's just kids just having fun, you know, and just like entertaining yourselves. I mean, like we used to do all sorts of crazy stuff in Currajong Heights, where like we'd have all these rope swings and like vines that you'd climb up and go and fall out of there. It was the best time ever. But like if every single kid is there, it's almost like that you're responsible for it sort of thing. But what you're actually doing is creating an environment for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm on the fence a little bit, I suppose.
I mean, we used to go down the creek there at Martin's Park. We went down there all the time. I think kids still go down there. There was a scrub out the back of Mum's. There's a few acres of Crown land that somehow the state government's sold off to developers. But we used to ride our motorbikes around there. The other thing we used to do was we'd all pile in the van, and Dad would take us up to the Heights pub, and we were kids, all like 8s. But what we'd do is on the way up, we'd nick all the for sale signs. And that steep hill at the front.
Slide down the hill.
We'd bang down the hill on these for sale signs. So
There's been many a drunken night we've done that.
yeah.
I've never done that before. No.
Well, yeah, I was thinking of all the poor real estate agents who keep thinking, why my signs keep getting nicked? But yeah, that's the upbringing. Like, we didn't have iPads and all that sort of stuff. The internet wasn't a thing, but we used to go riding our motorbikes around and running through the creeks, and like all that stuff's still there. But yeah, it was cool, man. I loved it.
It was honestly like for me, living in Carlton Heights was the best place ever. I mean, like, even living in Carlton Heights and just looking over the city, where then like you saw Sydney grow, and all of a sudden it came up to the foothills there, and then into Carlton Heights, which it was, and like also you, Daniel, in Glossodia. It's just like it grew like this massive thing. Like, and like I've spent a lot of time overseas, I have, and so every time I would come home, you would see it grow within the 6 months period, leading up to this crazy world, which is Western Sydney, and it has now become this ultimately crazy environment. It has,
yeah, and it's continuing to grow like that as well.
Yeah, well, I drove for a living for a few years, about 20 years ago, and I'm going back into town. Like, now that we're back a lot, and I'm going to a lot of gigs at the moment, I'm going into parts of town that I need a sat nav to navigate it now. I used to know it like the back of my hand. Now, like Parramatta, driving into Parramatta's I can't find my way around there anymore. So
it's a nightmare. Parramatta's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it's a chore. So
yeah.
But I mean, that's the nature of change. There's a lot of new houses popping up around the Hawkesbury. Some I can see and I agree with. Some of it I'm like the ones out the back of Mum's. That was Crown land. I don't know why that's gone to developers. That sort of annoys me. If they developed it into what it was supposed to be, which was a facility for the people, I'd 100% get behind that. But it just sort of sat there dormant, and to sell it to developers to pump a few units into
exactly
the carriage of it, it doesn't suit the aesthetic. And I suppose I've become one of those people who hates change.
Yeah.
Especially in carriage.
It's starting to sound like it actually. Like it is just like the progress of development sort of thing. But I totally agree. I mean, like this Crown land thing, I don't really want to bring this up as a topic, but like it basically is Crown land that is owned by no one, and then all of a sudden it then can become communal. Is that correct, guys?
Well, the whole idea, I believe, was like 100+ years ago. Some bloke left it as Crown land to be developed as a place for the community, whether it was a picnic park or whatever it was, and nothing come of it. And I don't know why. We used to ride our motorbikes, like I said, but then in the last decade, it's been sold to developers. Nothing's been done other than we walked out a couple of Christmases ago, and any tree that was less than 30 centimeters round had been chopped down and chipped. So it's just nothing there. But I mean, the wildlife sort of come back, but a lot of that dense scrub, it's definitely gone. So
yeah.
So the state government put it, they sold it, happy to take the money.
Oh yeah.
And then the locals of whatever government has put a stop on any development. So there's just all this land out the back with a big fence around it. And
somebody think of the koalas.
Well, there were koalas out there, man.
Yeah, that's right.
There were protected species out there, but that didn't seem to matter.
No.
So, yeah, and it's right on Mum's back doorstep, which is a bit upsetting. So,
yeah. So tell me, how'd you get started in tattooing? How does one even get a gig in tattooing?
I mean, I don't know if you guys remember Jay Evans.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay. Well, Jay and I have kept in contact over the years. Like him and I are good mates. You know, I actually haven't spoken to him in a little while, but he just rang me one day. I was living in out the back of the Edamoga there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was there with my missus, and we'd only just really started dating maybe a year or so. And anyways, he turns up with another mate of his. He's a tattoo artist. And when I found out he was a tattooist, I grabbed all my drawings and I showed him, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
I said, sit here, and I just grabbed them all. And these are drawings that I worked on for years, you know. And he went and just talked to his bosses, and they agreed to meet me at some point. So I went and showed them, and I turned up with like 2 tattoos. I look like a school teacher. Especially at the time, I was, you know, like you said, clean shaven.
Tattoos, man.
Yeah, look like I'm 12 years old, and I turn up like, hey guys, like, and yeah, no, they agreed to take me on. So I'd go up on weekends. Because I was teaching at the time. I was teaching reproductive health.
Okay.
Going out to high schools with, you know, a plastic banana and condoms, and talking about chlamydia and HIV, Hep C, and all that sort of related issue. But I did that for years, and so I'd go out on Saturdays, just draw pictures, stencil tattoos, make coffee, clean the shop. You know, just do whatever I needed to do to.
When you said it was out here, where's out here?
Oh man, I was here in Blacktown. I was working in Penrith. I had to go out to Bathurst.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So and then it got to a stage where I basically had to choose one or the other, because I was running out of leave. I had no time in lieu left. So I just hit them up and said, what do you think? Have I got it or not? And they said, and they basically said, if you want to do this, if we're going to put the time into you to teacher, we need 5 years out of you. And I said yes straight away.
Yeah.
Because even without discussing it with Amy, my now wife, because I just knew that at that time I was about 30, 31.
Yep.
And I'd burnt through my 20s. Like, I'd wasted most of my 20s. And I knew that 5 years amounted to nothing in the scheme of things. So I said yes, because I knew in 5 years' time, if I said no, I'd kick myself. So
yeah.
And it was tough. It was a tough 5 years. But after that, it was pretty cool, you know. Like, they made sure it wasn't an easy ride for me, and I didn't expect one. It was a grind, but you know, I loved at the same time, as hard as it was, I loved it, mate. And I was doing what I loved, so, and that was something I hadn't done before.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. Like, just following a passion like that, like in drawing, which I think a lot of tattoo artists out there, I mean, obviously they just sit there in their rooms and whatnot and just like draw things down and like create all these amazing images. I mean, like, how often do you have people come into your studio, or and then actually you can create whatever you want, as opposed to what they come present to you?
Well, I have a bunch of guys who give me some creative freedom. They have a lot of them have an aesthetic that they are trying to achieve. And I can match it. Look, being with Pete and Sando at Skin Fantasy in Bathurst, Pete and Sando, they're worth mentioning. I still love those guys. I still keep in contact. They are the best. Because we're in Bathurst and there's 40,000 people there, you've got to be versatile as a tattoo artist. So I was basically, I had to be versatile, and say someone comes in wanting a traditional color piece, like, I can achieve that. If someone wants a line with blue eyes, as much as I'm sick of doing lines with blue eyes, I can do that too, you know. So I can do that sort of realistic black and gray, but I can also do that bright, bold color stuff. Especially like he said, I'm going to teach you how to get the color in. And I said, well, that's fine, that's cool. So.
And I'm gonna have to stop you there for 2 seconds, because like a line with blue eyes, like what does that actually mean? Like a line with blue eyes. I mean, imagine a line that has blue eyes. I mean, like
I'm thinking of, you know, raw, you know, African lion.
Yeah, African lion, like raw.
Yeah.
That's an African lion.
Not a lion.
Sorry, my baby vernacular.
A lion with blue eyes.
No,
That's
no, I'll get through.
Sorry,
Charismatic Prince Charming line,
Yeah,
Nathan.
yeah, like it's Sinatra.
my dyslexia is coming in right here. But
No, I think
the
it's my
line with blue eyes.
vernacular.
It's still interesting, right?
No,
And,
it's one of those things. Like I'll get through a whole lion portrait or a tiger portrait or whatever it is, and then right at the end they go, "Yeah, you reckon it'd look good with blue eyes?" I'm like, "Let's do it." So yeah, so
Absolutely blue eyes there.
Yeah.
one of my good mates, he was mates with Lacey too, growing up from school. A bloke called Drew Galea, and
Yeah. Yep.
you'd know Drew. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
he come up to me and he goes, "I want like a full line back piece," and he's like a big solid lad, and I thought that much skin would be awesome, but then he said lions, and I went,
It's gonna come over his shoulder.
but then in the end, it ended up being, but it's actually like I'm dead proud of that one actually, and it's funny because Mum grew up like you guys. She knew Drew, and then Drew, like Mum's 80th was last year, and he came out the back. He was invited. He turned up, and straight away, Mum just walks over and goes, "Take your shirt off." So there's Drew, on a cold April night, shirts off. Everyone's looking at his back. So
Yeah.
And,
how long did it take to get to doing your first solo tattoo, and how'd you feel when you were administering that?
I had to do it I had to get there pretty quick because I know Pete and Sando were they were looking to get me up to speed as quickly as possible. I had sort of burnt a few months of Saturdays and then Friday afternoons there. So when I got there, it was when I got there, unfortunately the other bloke who was working there, he'd suffered a tragedy, and he left a big hole in the shop there, and I just happened to start at that time. So, and we had people walking in just wanting simple stuff like the flash, the traditional flash you see on the wall.
Yeah. Yep.
They were just like, I want that there. And so they're like, you gotta get good now. And like it wasn't easy for me. Like nothing I've ever done has ever come easy. Like it took me a while to do an acceptable tattoo, I suppose. But like 6 months to be any good, but then really like it took me a few years to get to a point where people was coming to see me and started asking for me.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that must have been a good feeling when that happens.
Like a very satisfying feeling. I mean, like a tattoo is honestly, it's there with you forever, and in a way, everyone that comes to see you, you're a part of them as well.
Yeah. Well, it was strange because I remember Pete saying at the start, like, we'll get you to a stage where people are going to come in and they're going to ask for you and they're not going to want me to tattoo. And that happened to me for years. I had people come in going, I don't care who tattoos me as long as it's not that bloke up the back. And I was like, yeah, well, that's fair enough. I've seen my tattoos. So, but then, something switched. And then I started getting people who would just ask for me. And then I've got people who even then, like we're talking about 13 or so years ago, they're still coming to me today, and they've got whether they come to me once a year or several times. Like there's some guys who've got half their body done by me. So
wow,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
What's amazing? Like I think it's kind of critical in a way. I mean, some people may argue with this, but like just having the one artist keeps the same theme as you go along, and then it all joins together. And so like people can come to you with their thoughts and ideas, and then they can elaborate on that and then continue on the rest of their body if they want to. Do you find that as being crucial, or?
No, not necessarily. Like I know I've met a lot of people through years, both collectors and artists, and there are people who do stick to one artist. They have that firm belief that you find a good artist, you stick with them.
Yep.
But then there's guys like I'm the sort of guy. I'm like, if you're anywhere and you meet an artist you like their art, get it. Like if you get a million different pieces on you from a million different artists and you like all of their artwork, then that's cool too.
That's the nature of tattooing, I think, is it's your own representation of art. It's your own representation of what you like.
Yeah.
And who cares what you've got? If somebody thinks it's shit or whatever,
Yeah.
That's what you like, isn't it? So
You know what? A friend of mine, I met him a few years ago, and we'll probably talk about him later. A bloke called Monkey,
yep.
and he's been around the world. He's a roadie, and he's been doing it for 35 years, you know, and he's got monkeys on him from artists around the world. Like he's
Yeah.
been in the town, he gets to know a guy, and they tattoo a monkey on him. So,
Just sick for monkeys.
yeah, mate, well, he's called Monkey. He's got
Why is it called Monkey, guys?
Yeah.
I hope he just doesn't only do it on their back when they're asleep. You know, then you have a monkey on your back.
No, yeah. So I mean, that's just one example, I suppose, of
Mm.
like that's and I've seen the same. Like I've seen people get matching tattoos, but two different artists side by side, and even though they're the same design, you're still going to get slightly different outcomes, just because of their approach, the way the artist sees the piece, and how they apply it technically. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've got guys who just love getting tattooed off me, and we've become friends over the years.
Yeah. I got a few tattoos, the tattoos I won't mention, but some of my early stuff, yeah, you had to get in before a certain time because after that he was too pissed to tattoo you.
I know the guy you're talking about.
Yeah, Richmond-based tattooist.
I know the guy you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah. Great bloke,
Yeah.
but you had to get in early. So
A close community, which is the Horsebridge district.
I've actually, if it's a guy I'm thinking of, I've heard that. Yeah, give him a 6-pack, and he's 6-pack, and he's probably better afterwards. So
yeah.
get into the hand.
Love the bourbon. So
Yeah. Exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. He's a legend, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, his daughter's tattooing, she's exceptional. So
yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. Tilly's her name. She's worth looking up. Tilly. I think she's just moving back to the Hawkesbury. Actually, she's been way up a fight for a while. Yeah, she's exceptional.
Yeah. So what's been your greatest achievement so far in the tattooing career?
I got an award. That was cool. Yeah. We went to a year, like I said, a bit over a year ago. I went to we moved back, and I've been working at Higher Ground Tattoos and Records.
Yep.
Which is dangerous because not only tattooing, but they've got a record section, and they've got just a full row of heavy metal records. And I don't know if you can see all.
Yeah.
That's a few of them.
I didn't seem to see the thousands of records behind you.
Yeah, there's a few there. There's a few in a secret box at work. But and we all packed up our stuff and went to a tattoo convention in Queensland. It was the Australian Tattoo Expo. And my brother Luke, who's 8 years younger than me, he lives up there. And I sort of started tattooing him I needed a guinea pig when I was starting. So he can sit through a full day. He likes the Ninja Turtles, so we did this big Ninja Turtle piece. I did Krang,
I feel like I need a
with the big brain hanging out, the big robots. So I did that up the leg, and they gave me best large color piece of the day. So
awesome.
That means I'm an award-winning tattoo artist now, which is a bit of a trip. Yeah, cheers.
Golf clap.
Thank you. Yeah, I was
have you got it on hand?
Cool, man.
Have you got it close by? Or?
What's that?
Have you got the award close by?
No, it's at work, man. We've
got okay.
Yeah, sorry, man, but it's a big trophy.
Yeah, okay.
It better be a big trophy.
Yeah, well,
there are no small trophies, right?
No, they're all big. It's big. So, but it was 8.5 hours it took, packed in the color, and geez, I hammered Luke. I'll give it to him. He's tough. I can't get tattooed like that. It's horrible. I don't like being tattooed, so especially like that. But I hammered it into him. He took it, and we got the money, so that was cool.
Yeah.
No,
that's a big one. That was a lifetime of
experience. I've got a few tattoos, and I just remember the guy that was tattooing me, Tim, from down in Surf Paradise there. He just needed to have a break. He was so into it, and he was just doing my legs there, and he just wanted to, and he's just I just need to go have a cigarette. I don't smoke. So he's just and I'm oh yeah, well, this is great, but I'm in pain. It's just I'm just gonna have a cigarette right now. It's just totally cool, dude. You do that, and honestly, he came back with the steadiest hand afterwards. It was just everything changed, our whole dynamic changed, and all of a sudden we're at the best buzz. But you could see
I think it comes down to focus.
Smoking is horrible, but it really did like create this environment for us. It was funny. It was funny at the time.
Yeah. No, it's about the focus is hard. Look, there are days where you can't snap me out of it, and there's other days where I struggle to focus. So if you get in there, if you're like truly focused on that spot there for an hour and a half, after a while you start to unsee the whole design. Like that's my experience.
Yeah,
I start to unsee it, and I just have to step back for it, and I'll go. I might go make a coffee or, go to the loo, or I don't smoke either, but I'll tell them to go and have a smoke, and I'll just walk around and stare at the walls for 2 seconds just to, so I can come back to it later,
Yeah, bust out for just a second, yeah.
Yeah. And also my back's cactus, so leaning over that whole time, it's not, it gives me a bit of grief at times, but I've worked on that. Sometimes I stretch. Might have to do some Tai Chi, some yoga, and fix it.
Sometimes I stretch. Yeah.
Go and see a chiropractor and get him to just bash me for 2 hours, something like that.
Yeah, well, like stretching is such a vital part of all sorts of fitness. I mean, like all of us guys, like we all know what fitness is all about, but like if you go and have a good stretch, hamstrings, legs, back, arms, everything, like it's almost as good as physical abuse to yourself in the gym. Like just spend put a movie on, and then all of a sudden you're stretching your legs and just sitting there watching doesn't matter what it is, and then just take a little bit of time out, and you feel limber, you feel good, and you're ready for the next day. It's good. It's awesome.
You know what? I haven't done any proper exercise since we got back, and then being between the two shops. Yeah. So, but I remember like the last time we used to hit the gym hard, but I just haven't done it since we moved back, and that's fine. I'll get back to it one day. But I remember one day I went and saw the acupuncturist because I just had knots everywhere, and he had needles in me from the back of my neck to my ankles, and he just worked his way through everything and busting knots here and there. And when he did it, it was the best. And I just walked out like felt $1 million, but he had half a steel mill's worth of needles in my back. It was,
and like the thing I find amazing, it's not amazing, but it makes sense that like a lot of masseuses out there, they're totally buff guys, and they're just like, and they just work on people like this, and it's their passion, and they just like work all of your muscles in. But then like these guys are just like being manhandled in a way, but like obviously like we don't really grasp the idea of it, of a man just totally annihilating your body, but they're really good at what they do. And I suggest it to anyone. It's just like getting a good old massage sometimes, and stretching as well. Like honestly, any sort of sport and athletic following, like we all do it, we do. And so like it's just great for you just to get out there, get out of the house and do something, go get a massage. Sure. Like it's totally fine.
Yeah. But I know
amazingly huge thing, just get a massage,
Well, I did. Amy and I on our honeymoon, we were in Vietnam, and we said and it was just poured, so we were looking for things to do. I said, let's get a couples massage. And then we walked into this room, and there were 2 masseuses. They were both women. One was about my height, and the other one, she was exactly half her height. She was this tiny little woman, and she, you and I have thrown heavier things in athletics, and I looked at him and I said, I'll bet you $1,000 the little one's mine. And then anyway, the big tall one, she come and grabbed Amy and led her away. And this little short person from Vietnam, she beat the Christ out of her. She flogged me. Oh, and Amy walked out, and she's like, that was one of the most beautiful experiences. And I walked out just flogged by this little person, and she looked at me scowling at the whole time. So
good work. Yes, good work. Yeah.
Trying to put me off massages.
Thank you for dismantling me for an hour. I'm out of here. Here's your money. Have more money for.
Oh, she fucking flogged me. I'll tell you, it was good fun. Good fun.
I watched a video quite a while back. It was like 8 tattooists working on this guy that was under anesthetic.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Fuck that.
Part of the pleasure of getting a tattoo, like
mate, one person.
Part of the pleasure of getting a tattoo is like having the whole experience. Like
yeah, but it's like anything. It's different for different people. Like I hate the pain, And I'm talking to guys who've been tattooed for decades now, and they're starting to use this painkiller stuff. And mate, you know, it's become more of an enjoyable experience for them because they're not fighting the whole time. You know, like some people, it's like anything. Some people are there for the pain. I've tattooed people who love the sensation of being tattooed.
Yeah.
But then I've met other people who love being tattooed, but the process kills them. So, but that 8P, I'd want to know how that guy recovered, because once all the painkiller comes off and you've got all that damage that's happened to your back, I want to know how your next week or fortnight went, because
you'd be walking like that
next week.
Yeah, I see these guys going over to Bali. You know what? There's some good work coming back from overseas. There's some crap, but there's some good stuff too. But I hear about these guys who are doing 3 days on the trot, getting their whole leg done, and then they've got to get on a plane. I just think about that flight back's got to be torture. So yeah. But I've seen some of the best in the world do it. There was a mob a few years ago called the Rat Pack. There was like 6 artists doing a back piece in one set. And one of the artists was a Kiwi bloke called Steve Butcher, and he's amazing. Like he just makes everyone look bad. He's that bloody good. And him and a bunch of his mates, who I can't think off the top of my head, a couple of Aussie blokes, and they were doing back pieces which would stand this test of time, but also just outstanding artwork. So I've seen people do it. It's not for me, just because I can't handle the pain or the recovery. So
Yeah.
Wow.
If I did a back piece, it'd take about 7 years. An hour at a time. Like if it was the whole face, you'd have to do like the pupil of an eye and then come back and do the rest of the eye.
What's your tattoo style? Is there a particular style you like to do, or your own?
I like doing, like if someone comes in with a horror theme, I'm all over it. But I understand that's not for everyone. I'm like I said, I'm not too fussed. As long there's tattoo designs I'm sick of doing. I'm not much of a fine line specialist anymore. Just because my eyes, you know, like they're not young eyes anymore. But I like big bold stuff. I love color. I don't get to do enough of it, which is unfortunate because, like, not to brag, but like someone gave me a trophy for my color work, so it stands to reason that it's pretty decent. But I get a chance to do a lot of black and gray, which is fine. I like big bold pieces. I like doing like a big piece in one day.
Yeah.
If I can get away with doing that sort of tickles my fancy. But doing this small stuff, there's guys in the shop who are better at it than me, and I'd rather pass it off to them. It's not because I hate doing it; it's because I just don't have that touch anymore. Unfortunately, like I said, these are thick.
Nerd.
My eyes aren't the size of but from here to here, I can't see a thing, you know. But like I can see I can see a bug on a leaf across the street, but me to my arm's length away, I can't see a damn thing.
So, are you saying, to elaborate on that a little bit, if your tattoo artist cleans his glasses or he puts them on, maybe he's not the exact tattoo artist for you?
No, look, I've got friends. I'll do it on friends, and because they're my friends. But if I tend to go, I would go see that guy. I would listen to me, you know. Like, but there's some people who just want to get tattooed by me. It's like you said.
Yeah.
And So, but I like big stuff. Yeah. I like doing big stuff. I like to wrap my head around it. Love dragons. Japanese stuff is the best. Like all the Hanya masks and demons and dragons and all that sort of stuff. Oh, that lights me up. I really do love that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Have you had any tattoos that have?
I feel like getting more tattoos right now. Just to have those. It's always this little time that you have with you and your artist, and you get to talk about whatever the hell you want, and just go through this enduring thing, and like putting something on your body which is for the rest of your life, which actually expresses yourself. I mean, like it's a connection between like guys and girls, artists out there. It's just an amazing thing. Hey, you must have had some crazy stories, man. Like absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you know what? Like by and large, not the most crazy. Like,
You're just not telling anyone. That's what it is.
yeah, no, well,
No.
one that sort of comes up. I'll tell you one.
You can tell us. No one will know.
I'll tell you one, but it's if I don't know if any kids actually listen. If you've got like a 4-year-old, anyways, 4 strippers walked into the shop. So
This sounds like a joke.
no, I know it does, but it's not. No, so these four girls walked in. This is years ago, and they were exotic dancers, and they were bloody good. One of them was an award-winning exotic dancer. Like
Yeah.
she had credentials saying like they paid her. She was award-winning. There was another one. She was a contributor to Picture magazine. Anyway, they walked in. One of them just wanted her ears pierced or something, and the second one, the award winner, she just said, "I might get that tattoo done." And they're like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yeah." And there were 3 of us in there, and I was third in line. I think I was, there was Pete, the other guy, and then me. And Pete had to go to a meeting. The other guy was busy, and they're like, "Well, this one's you." And I'd cut my teeth in my apprenticeship in my early years of tattooing, doing names, doing script. And she said, "Well, I want my stage name across my chest." And we're like, "What's your stage name?" And she said, "Wet Dream." And I went, "Are you sure?" And she goes, "Yeah." So I drew it up, which I could do pretty quickly. Even now, like writing out names, I can knock that out pretty quickly. We sized it up, and that tattoo should have taken me about 45 minutes. It took me 2 hours.
Oh.
So
And
that's what
somehow, yeah. And somehow, like, she had this
a bit more on what it looked like. Like, what is it? What is
big W, big D, mate.
dreams? We guys here are like, we've had wet dreams, but like, what does it actually look like?
I mean, you can Google it. She's on there. So, but she was a bit of a flirt too. So she had this dress on. It was from here. It was like just above here and just below there, and she kept like moving the dress so it'd bounce down and the boobs would pop out, or she'd lift it up.
So then the tattoo went a little bit longer each time.
Yeah, the tattoo took a bit longer, but afterwards, then she gave me a hug goodbye. She said, "Come out." I said, "No, my missus won't like that." I went straight home and I told Amy about my whole day. She's like, "Oh, let's go down the pub," and I'm like, "No, we're not going." We'll end badly. So
yeah.
But she was actually like, she was a bit flirty at the start, but then we had some honest conversation. She was a cool chick. Like, she was a hell of a she was an artist in her own right. She was exceptional at what she did. But still like, she was telling me stories that made me blush, and I won't repeat them. They're not for anyone else.
That's what the beauty of being a tattooed artist is. I mean, like, you can only imagine some of the things that goes people's minds. I mean, like, tattooing, like, it does hurt. Okay, anyone that does have tattoos, it does hurt. Like, it kind of brings out the resilience in you, but also brings out a time and a period which is special to someone, that you're spending this time with someone, and some of these crazy stories must come out of some people. And it's just like, I'm just here because, like, some of them have like redemption in a way, or success, or like personality types that just want to strive some of their favorite number or something like that, It's just so, like, every single tattoo must have a meaning behind it, which I think is amazing. I mean, like, I've got tattoos, we all do, and so, like, every single one of them just has this brilliant story. And I know you're being very light on the people that you've tattooed before, but there's got to be more in there. Come on, there's got to be more.
No, but no, she was. Look, it's just the usual. I worked in Bathurst for 13 years, so we'd have race week. We'd have those guys, the rev heads, turn up and get their Holden and Ford badges. And I remember one guy, he was just being a grub. He was like, "Oh, do you tattoo dicks?" And I'm like, "I'm not." Like, "No, I'll get it out right now." And then 2 minutes later,
on your forehead.
Yeah. Well, 2 minutes later, he was out in the curb spewing his ass up.
Yeah.
And there's other guys, just like, you just get those characters that come in, and it's not so much the tattoos they get that are worth telling, but you meet some really cool people. You meet some, like, there's stories, like, there's a million stories, and then some of which I actually cannot tell publicly. So I don't want to get anyone in trouble. So, but
what about like the old tattoo, no regrets, but they've spelt regrets wrong.
No
Have you got
regrets.
any instances of that?
Yeah. No, but had some people they just get joke tattoos. Like one guy had a picture of a camel put on his big toe. Just stuff like that, you know, like the old monkey's bum hole for the belly button, and yeah. So there was one guy. He was
I've
just
seen that. Like I get a lot of stuff on my feeds and stuff. I think I've actually seen that one. Like the monkey is actually the
yeah. The belly button's their bum hole.
yeah, your belly button. Yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah.
at what point do you think that this is a good idea or not? I mean, like, to get a tattoo, I mean, like, I'm just thinking of my own experiences with getting tattoos. Like, it had to be seen, you know, and like you want to have it presented. I mean, like sometimes people might have, you know, whatever it is on their body, and they just like kind of cover it up. But like, I've got tattoos as we do, but like, do you have people that just like want to hide it away? Like, I know people get it behind their ear and stuff like that. Wouldn't that would like crazy hurt? Yeah, like.
There's some, well, it's not a, some people professionally don't want to be seen in that light. And there's an old school thinking that you get everything that's unseen tattooed first before you go to where it's like you used to have to get your whole body tattooed before you went to your forearms, you know, like it was just that it was how it was seen. It was also the best way to keep it hidden from public. We're talking about like 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
When there was a huge prejudice towards tattooing. A lot of it was earned, you know, like back in the day, tattoos were seen to be only for sailors, whores, and bikers, you know, like it was only the baddies got it. And, you know, like some of the reputation is it's unfair, but some of it is earned by a few people. It's like anything, like a couple of bad apples, but there was still a sort of not a code, but that line of thinking was, you know, you've got to earn the forearm, the long legs. You know, like you definitely didn't do necks and, you know, hands, necks, and face. They were out of line. If you wanted that as your first tattoo,
yeah, I agree.
No way. Like, even by guys in the industry I'm a part of, it was like, oh, can I start with my hand and go up? Like, no, mate. You can start up there and work and earn the rest, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how it used to be. Now I see these kids walking around with like just their necks, just their hands, and just their feet. So they can wear a suit and they look completely covered, but you strip them down and they'd be lucky to have one or two on their whole body. And you know what? Like that's like modern trends. Like I'm the last bloke who should be talking about modern trends. There's stuff that I'm starting to not understand, and I try not to be judgmental about it because I don't know where they've been. I don't know where they come from. And look, it's also good to see that tattooing's come a long way in the public eye. You know, I've only been doing it for 15 years, and I know 15 years sounds like a long time to be in any industry, but I mean, I'm talking about there's guys in Australia who've been doing it since before I was born, and they're still going. There's a guy I have a huge amount of respect for, but he doesn't know me, but a guy named Tony Cohen, and he's good. He's friends with my old mentor, Pete, but he was in Rose Tattoo film clips, you know, and he was he was a pioneer. But there were guys before that like Bob Woods and all that sort of stuff. And there's a guy today called Reese Gordon, and he is trying to capture a lot of that Australian tattoo history. So I try and read his stuff up on stuff that I don't understand. But I remember growing up when I was 12, and when the guy 2 doors up, he was a biker who introduced me to tattoos. He started showing me magazines, and there was like I said, Tony Cohen, and there was Kiwi Kim at the time. She was amazing, and then and a slew of other artists, including Pete, who taught me, popping up in these magazines, and that was the stuff I used to draw. But the way that tattoos were accepted then, like tattoos used to only turn up in porn magazines. Like there was at the back of Picture magazine, there was a page dedicated. Well, it was a page dedicated to tattoos, and then Little Mick one day, or in a few of his mates, he was a Queensland tattooist, I believe, and he said, well, let's put our own magazine together, and that's where Australian Tattoo. It doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately, but he got to showcase his work and the work of his peers in the industry. You know, we're talking about a time when Sydney had 6 tattoo studios. Now there's
Yeah.
they're in every town. Like Bathurst has got 4, I think. You know, Pete and Sydney have been there for 35 years, and these ones sort of pop up, come and go. Some of them stay, which is, you know, but like there's a million of them in Sydney now. There's good ones there that I've never heard of, you know, and there's people in there that have never heard of me, and that's fine. That's just because there's so many of us now.
Do you think the criminal element being taken out of bikie shops? Bikie shops, out of tattoo shops, obviously by bikies, has cleaned things up a lot.
Some of my bikies are great people.
Yeah, I'm going to dob some people in that. Look, like I said, I've only been in it for 15 years.
Yeah.
I never saw anything of that, and I can look you dead in the eye and tell you I never saw an inch of criminal behaviour, especially from the guys I worked for.
Yeah,
now, I don't see it. Like, there's none of it. It's just not there. I was there long enough. If it was there, I would have seen it. I would have seen it. But the New South Wales government brought in like licensing legislation. I think it was back in 2012. So I was in the industry for only 3 years when it sort of came out, and now it sort of made it hard to get a license. Like you didn't have to prove that you could tattoo. You didn't have to prove that you knew skin penetration procedures or any knowledge of HIV, Hep C, bloodborne viruses, and all that sort of stuff. All you had to do was go into a police station and get your fingerprints, palm prints, and side palm prints done. Yeah, basically they did a criminal check, and if you didn't pass their scrutinous eyes, then you weren't to be a tattooist. I'd done nothing wrong my whole life, you know, other than a few speeding tickets. But so I passed pretty quickly. I think I had my license within 3 weeks. But I know guys that got it in 6 months. I've heard of guys that had to fight it. And I've heard of other guys that they were not allowed to tattoo. So in New South Wales, they're not allowed to tattoo. So if they wanted to continue tattooing, they had to go somewhere into another state or just do another job.
It's pretty crucial actually to have those laws in place to actually tattoo someone. I mean, like I never really actually thought about the in-depth thought behind it, but yeah, like you as a tattoo artist, you actually hold a very big responsibility.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I think it was basically to get. It was bought that legislation was brought in to remove criminal activity from tattoo studios. But look, if you're going to sell drugs, for example, and you're going to do it in a tattoo studio, and they say, well, you can't tattoo in a tattoo, you're going to sell the drug somewhere else anyway. So
that's right. Yeah.
All it did was it looked to clean up our industry, which was seen as it was publicly seen as a. I'm talking to the normal, you know, the layman and probably the cops too, because like I know a few cops, and they said like they were getting called to shootings and stuff like that, people getting stabbed, and it's and it was done to eliminate that. But like I said, that side of it, I never saw it. I've never been a part of it. There'd be someone looking at me saying that, going, that guy's fucking lying. but I never have, you know, it's not my scene, you know, like if you talk about cocaine, I've never tried the stuff. I know what I'm like. I took to drinking like a fish to water, so I don't need
as did we.
Like I said earlier, nothing I've ever done, like I've ever wanted to achieve, ever came easy. I had to work at it. But drinking, I did it once, and it was like I'd done it a million times. So I don't need to start hooking into anything more illicit than that.
Yeah, that's good. It's a very good message as well out there. I mean, like when you get a tattoo, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're some sort of crazy person. It just means that you want to express yourself, and express yourself in a way that you want to show other people on who you are. It's not like through some sort of tragic turmoil or anything like that. It's just a way to express yourself. And I really feel that if you do get a tattoo, you may just go into a parlor or whatever and then pick one off the wall, which is totally fine. But if you come in with an artwork of yourself or a story of your life, it means a lot more, you know, to the individual. I mean, like some people just love artwork, which we all do. But it's a way to express yourself, and you find the most interesting people. And I know that I'm sort of picking your brain here a little bit, because you've said one story, but you must have a million of them out there, you know. So yeah.
It's one of those things. I mean, it's different strokes, you know. Some people just want a tattoo and they don't care what they get. I had one kid come in, he wanted clocks and roses and like the blue-eyed lion, I'd done a million clocks and roses. And I love doing rose tattoos. They're great. But one guy wanted 4 clocks up his arm, like, yeah, okay. One kid coming with that. And I was like, do you want this or do you just want a tattoo? And he's like, I just want a tattoo. I'm like, how do you feel about Grim Reapers? And he's like, oh, that'd be awesome. So we got rid of the clocks and roses and we put in a big Grim Reaper. And he's happy as Larry, mate. Now he's going to get his whole arm done. He'd probably get the other one and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's like I said, some people, it has to have meaning. My first 2 were for Lacey and Dad. And then the rest was like, I think the third one was I tattooed myself on my leg so many years later. And then everything was, the reasons I had were basically, I had to learn how to tattoo. And then I had to learn how to do a portrait. And then I learned how to do a color portrait. So my legs have all these cool tattoos, but there was a reason. I had to test out a machine. There was a reason, but different reasons. Like, I just like Star Wars, so I got Star Wars crap all over me. I got music tattoos because I like music.
So,
Well, I mean, like, that's the ultimate way to do it. I mean, like, if anyone just comes into a parlor and they just want this and that, which is totally fine. But like, if it actually has a meaning, you know, I mean, like, I've got tattoos which I do. I mean, like, I've got a Tasmanian tiger on my shoulder and I've got wings on my ankles, and all of them have a story to it, which is you know, some people actually come up to me and they say, oh, what's that, or like, what's the story behind this, and I'm happy to talk about it, you know, which is great, you know. So yeah, anyway, it really is a unique form of expressing yourself in a way that, you know, it's almost introducing yourself in a way.
And sometimes you just get a tattoo because you want a tattoo.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like I've got. I got skulls all over me because skulls are cool. Like, if you come and go, if you want to cover up, there's 9 out of 10 chance I'm going to say, how do you feel about skulls? Because I like skulls. And they're great to cover up. They're great.
So you've got a unicorn right here. So how about a
massive big black mess I want covered up? How do you feel about Darth Vader?
Yeah.
It's easy, man.
Actually, I wouldn't mind having Darth Vader tattoo.
Yeah. I've got one. I got one from my friend Boots in the Philippines. Amy and I went there. Amy worked there for 7 months, and we went over, and so I would go back and forth to visit her, and I was bored. I was so bored. I was ready to walk down a dark alley just to see what had happened. And one day we're walking around, and I saw this redeemed tattoo in a mall. So I ran down, and I went, "Who's the owner?" And they went and grabbed Boots, and I said, "My name's Duane. I'm a tattooist. I'm from Australia. So I'm going to come and hang out in your shop tomorrow." He's like, "Oh, okay." So I went and hung out and drank a million beers, and you know, that'd be close to 10 years ago, and we're still friends. We still talk, and he's become an exceptional, bit of a famous tattooist in Cebu in the Philippines, and yeah, but we're just mates. I was just bored and I wanted to hang out with other tattooists. So I was sick of hanging out in the mall, so
yeah,
it was good. And he did that. He did. No, he didn't. He did that. The Darth Vader. It's a bit muddy now. It's been 10 years. Paul did that one. Yeah. And it's cool. It's you know what, like I find for the most part tattooists interesting people, you know. Sometimes they're a bit scattered, sometimes they're a bit crazy. We all. And there are other meet cool people, do cool shit. It's